CoastFI Couple, podcast where love meets financial independence. I'm Matt.
And I'm Yana. Join us every other week as we dive into the world of CoastFI and share smart money tips for couples.
We're going to be talking all about how to strengthen your bond and your relationship and bring you closer to financial independence.
One episode at a time. All right. Welcome back to episode 8.
CoastFI Couple.
CoastFI Couple.
Yeah.
This episode, we're going to be talking about the different levels of FIRE, or I like to call them flavors, different flavors of FIRE.
Fancy.
What's your favorite flavor?
So I like, at least I've seen it be called the FIRE staircase.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Because as you're making your way through financial independence, there's just different ways and flavors, I guess you'd say, to do it. And
Well, it's a staircase because once you reach one level, it kind of affords you, no pun intended, the ability to reach the next level. And we can kind of talk about the order of them.
Yeah. So I remember in earlier episodes, we talked about going hard to true FIRE, which, means that you've essentially kind of made it and you are actually retired and you don't have to work anymore. But what you found out along the way is this staircase,
Right.
These different flavors. And so the first stair, which is what we're talking about primarily on this show, right, is CoastFI.
CoastFI. So if at the top of the staircase is financial independence and early retirement, retire early, then the different steps to get to the top of the staircase, the very first one is CoastFI, meaning I have saved up enough in my long-term investments so that way I don't have to save one more penny, because by the time I retire in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever that is, but however that math works for you, whatever you need annually, it's going to compound in growth to get you what you need at the time of your projected retirement. So what's great about CoastFI, even though we were on that FIRE journey to get to full retirement as quickly as possible, we realized we were already kind of at this burnout stage. And so taking the foot off of the gas a little bit, because we had what we needed for retirement, a comfortable retirement at a comfortable retirement age in between, now 38 and our retirement age. We just have to cover our expenses, and we keep our expenses pretty low. So that didn't seem super daunting, right? That was the very first level. Now, a lot of people in the FIRE community know that CoastFI is a thing, know that it is a benchmark, but they just keep on head down. They're going to continue socking away as much as possible.
Yeah. Maybe they're not burned out, or maybe they like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're on a good path and you don't feel like it's weighing you down, and maybe you enjoy your work, then there's not necessarily a reason to stop. And obviously every year that you keep contributing to those accounts that we talked about
The
last
sooner
episode,
retirement can be.
Yeah, exactly. So you're essentially just creating your own timeline for when you want to stop working, right?
Yeah.
Or at least afford you the option to do so.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that little pun.
Thank you.
There. Yeah. Well done.
So the next stair after CoastFI is BaristaFI. And they call it BaristaFI for a couple of different reasons. But essentially, BaristaFI is working part-time and earning some passive income from your investments to achieve financial independence and early retirement. So it just gives you the flexibility to have part-time work. And you are starting to withdraw a little bit off of your investments. You're taking some of your investment income as passive income. So you're sort of doing some sort of ratio there to where, yes, I am still working, but I'm doing, something that's super low stress, and maybe it's not making me a whole lot of money, but it's covering whatever gap I have between what my retirement accounts can afford me annually comfortably and what my actual expenses are. And the reason why they call it BaristaFI is because a lot of people who are doing BaristaFI are solely doing it for healthcare. And so, and it was coined BaristaFI because Starbucks offers a really good healthcare plan for part-time employees. And so people who are on this FIRE movement are just like, you know what, I have almost enough to retire, but healthcare is sort of the last chink chink. So I really have to figure out a way to make healthcare affordable. And I just want to make a little bit extra. So I got a little bit extra fluff. So that's why it was called BaristaFI. But in theory, I think that you could implement BaristaFI in a number of different ways, you know?
Yeah, you could do whatever job you want. I think that this next step in the staircase is a great one, because the main differentiator from CoastFI to BaristaFI is with BaristaFI, you are finally starting to withdraw from your accounts. We haven't started doing that yet. And so we still have to afford our entire lifestyle as it is today.
Yeah.
But if you're at a point where it's grown enough and you can start sucking some of the nest egg a little bit, you can do whatever job you want at that point. Like you don't even have to have a full-time job. You can move down to what you said, like part-time. And I know you made a joke maybe an episode or two ago about what my dream BaristaFIRE job is, but I've always loved the movie theater. And so what I want to do as, you know, an older man is to go and volunteer my time at a movie theater where I can get paid even minimum wage and, you know, have maybe healthcare covered through my local AMC or whatever and pass out popcorn and get free access to movies. That sounds like a lovely way to spend my time.
Matt doesn't even like popcorn. I love popcorn. So as long as you were bringing the popcorn home.
I love movies. And so that to me, getting, you know, free access to movies for you and I.
What a perk.
What a perk. Yeah, exactly. So that's just an example of a good BaristaFI job. If you're not into working at Starbucks, go work in a movie theater or at you actually want to do what, a garden, a botanical garden or something?
No, I love the idea. Like my ideal BaristaFI job is a florist.
Florist, that's what I meant. Yeah.
I just love the idea of arranging flowers for people.
Right.
Or something to do with cats.
We didn't even put CatFi on this list.
We haven't talked about CatFi.
Okay, we'll save that for the last one.
Okay.
Save that for last. Okay. Perfect. All right. So staircase number 1, you've got CoastFI. Take another step up. You still got money growing in that account, and now it's finally large enough to where you can start withdrawing a little bit of it, and that is BaristaFI.
Yes.
What is your next step?
The next one is LeanFI. And so LeanFI is basically, you know, really putting a vice grip on your expenses and getting it as low as possible so you can meet that passive income that your investments are throwing off, right? So maybe, your expenses are $95 a year, but your investments are making you $80. How can you shave off $15,000 off of your annual expenses to then fully fire, right? And that's what LeanFIRE is. It's just living as frugally and as lean as possible to not exceed the passive income of your investments. And it's maybe not super fun. A lot of people who LeanFI are incredibly creative.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, they are traveling around in a camper van to save expenses, their annual expenses while they're renting out their home.
I love these stories.
It's amazing what some of these people can do.
Yeah, you have people who are LeanFI who have just hacked life because they really don't want to be beholden to any type of job at all. So if your investments are spitting out enough for you to live on, then you can do whatever you want. You can live in your car, which we've seen people do, or they do long travel where they just, we have a friend that is going to be traveling what they call slow travel to all these different parks. And they're able to sleep in like a parking garage at a hospital or something for free. Like if that's your jam, and that's what you want to do, and you don't want to have to work at all, well, LeanFIRE could be what you want to work on, right? Like,
it's the next stair in the staircase, right? And all this to say, you know, the idea of you going from CoastFI to then BaristaFI to then maybe LeanFI, right? It all depends on your withdrawal strategy, the growth of your investments, whether or not you're finding additional ways to save or hustle or whatever along the way. Maybe you're CoastFI now and you're going to be BaristaFI later. And then maybe you go back to CoastFI because you have an option to take a job that you like, right? And so there's always that flexibility, but the beauty of it is you get to decide what you want to do.
The more that Yana and I simplify and automate our finances, the happier we became. And this is the single greatest finance budgeting tool that's come out in recent times. It's called Cube Money, And it's changing the way couples implement financial health. We're investors in this company. We have exclusively been using Cube money to do our own personal budgets since 2020. And it's so simple that even our kids are now using it. Cube has developed and patented a technology they call Default Zero. And it requires a category to be opened from your personal budget before you can spend with the card. And then once you spend, it deducts it all in real time. This single feature has made Cube the safest card in the world to use. If you drop it, it always has a zero balance on it unless you open the budgeting app. It's been extremely handy for us, and it saved us actually several instances of fraud, and we're never going to go back. Cube is perfect for families too, because they've got shared spending categories that allow you to spend in real time from them, and everyone else in the family can see the updated balance. It's essentially making it 100% foolproof to always stick to our budget, and that has actually been the case. We have not overspent from our budget since we started Cube, and it's amazing. This is the tool that helped us get a handle on our family spending and made our journey to CoastFI so much easier. So if you're ready to take your budget to the next level where you truly can automate it, you truly set it and forget it, then you're in luck, because Cube Money is offering an exclusive deal just for our listeners. Go to cubemoney.com, that's QUBE money.com, and at checkout use the code COAST. You can try the premium or the family membership for free. And again, we highly recommend it. It's a personal endorsement. We know that if you use the program, it'll work for you. Enjoy.
The other thing that I wanted to note, back to sort of the taxable brokerage account, the Bridge 4 concept, right? Mm-hmm. It's important to have a healthy amount saved up in a brokerage account to afford you the flexibility if there's a market downturn, right? So that way, if the market does downturn, but you've sort of created this LeanFIRE lifestyle for yourself, but you don't want to necessarily tap into your investments because you're in a down year. Okay, well, maybe you don't that year, but you pull from your brokerage account instead. And it's a way to sort of offset that risk a little bit.
Let's explain that for a second. So when we say a down year, what do you mean by a down year?
When the market does not return on.
Right. So we say on average that the U.S. stock market will return roughly 10% a year. But let's say we have another 2008, another recession that happens, or another pandemic, and all of a sudden the market drops and you're only getting, maybe you're getting negative return or 3% a year.
For a few years.
Yeah. And the math all of a sudden isn't advantageous for you to pull money out, because if the market that you're selling your shares for is a lot lower, then you're getting less bang for your buck. So to your point, if you are essentially planning on living off this money for a long time, you don't want to be pulling out hundreds of thousands of dollars when the market's down, because that $100,000 could be a lot greater if the market was high.
It hurts you in the long run.
Yeah. So having a taxable brokerage account that has maybe even a year or two of your yearly expenses stocked away in like a bond or high yield savings of some kind that is just keeping up with inflation will allow you to tap that money and not tap the money that's in the market, which could be more painful. So those are strategies that we've seen other FI folk do. I like that we're
FI folk.
I'm picturing a bunch of hobbits at this stage with LeanFI, because
I love it.
You could live in a hole and be totally content and happy having your coffee.
Listen, I love a good cape.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you do.
All right. So after LeanFI, we have FIRE, which is just true financial independence, retire early. You have saved up enough to where you can comfortably take, 3.5 or 4% of your portfolio annually, and that covers your expenses for the year. You don't have to work unless you want to. You've got that option to do recreational employment if you want to, but that is
you won the race.
FIRE. It's not necessarily lean. You're not trying to vice grip your expenses to meet that need. You're just living and you're just doing, which is like this. It's the dream, right?
It's the dream. You won the game. Congratulations.
And say you get a few really great years in the market, and we just have a bull market for 2 or 3 years after you've fired. And then all of a sudden you're Chubby-FI.
So the next step
in the staircase beyond. This is
I didn't even know ChubbyFI was a thing. I think this is a relatively newer thing.
I just love the term ChubbyFI.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's adorable. ChubbyFI is considered to be 2.5 to 4 million in liquid assets, excluding your home, which it's hard to put a dollar amount on it, in my opinion, just because I feel like ChubbyFI is going to be different for everyone. FIRE is going to be different for everyone. It just depends on what you have invested and what your expenses are.
Yeah, that's a good point. But when you hear of ChubbyFI, usually it's you have in excess of your expenses.
Yes.
And you have plenty of room to...
I wouldn't say plenty of room. You have more room.
You have more room. Yeah, you don't need to just... you can live in excess of your expenses to some degree.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what that is, but you have more money to play with.
Yeah.
Right. That's when you can start taking those really elaborate vacations and,
Well, I think the elaborate vacations probably come into play.
I guess you could do that at any step. It's just where you prioritize it. This is why it makes it so fun, because you can put money towards whatever bucket you want.
True.
But at ChubbyFI, you can take a lot more, a lot frequently, and it's not going to be something you have to necessarily keep an eye on.
Right.
Right.
And then the last one is FatFI.
FatFI. Yeah. FatFIRE. So if you go onto your Reddits, or if you just type in FatFIRE on Google, these are the people who
have really made it.
Well, yeah. So they are the ones that do, the multi-million-dollar airplane, private jet type of investments, or are going on cruises, all the time. There's no limits with the FatFIRE.
They don't budget.
They don't need to budget.
They just go.
I would say, I get to that point. I have a hard time saying you don't need to budget. I think everybody should budget, even FatFIRE people, because you don't want to squander it.
True.
Right? So at FatFIRE, you are earning way more than in your investments or in your business or whatever it is than your yearly expenses. And to your point, budgeting is a lower concern because you don't feel like you're ever going to outspend your actual yearly expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the staircase.
Yeah.
All very exciting. I wanted to ask you, so Matt was at FinCon last weekend.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
So FinCon is a financial expo for money nerds. Actually, I'm wearing the shirt.
Yep.
Money Nerds Unite. So I was in Atlanta this year.
So when you were at the expo, are people talking about the different levels of FI? Are there different groups within the convention that are like, hey, all of the ChubbyFI people are going to get together over at table 8?
It's a great question. I don't think it's that specific.
Okay.
I think the beauty of a group of finance nerds all meeting up in one place is that we all know the same language. So if somebody says that they are, FIRE or FatFIRE, there's an instant understanding of what that means.
And what it took for them to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. So there might be a table or two of FatFIRE folk, and everybody in this room knows it, right? 'Cause like we all understand, okay, these are money creators or these content creators that, maybe have released their net worth or have even, had an audience that follows them on their journey to earning that type of income. So there's definitely a lot of, it's like rolling out the red carpet, right? Like you do want to just like head nod. Yeah. Well, congratulations, sire.
It's like Gandalf rolling into the Hobbiton.
Whereas, the LeanFI folk, yeah, exactly. You're wearing your capes and you're walking around with your bare feet, cause you made it. Congratulations. And you can celebrate, but you're celebrating, with a loaf of bread, So there is definitely, a different vibe, but you know what, again, personal finance is personal and you live your life. Like you do what you want to do. And if you want to hustle and build businesses or do, really creative investment opportunities and startups and they blow up and all of a sudden you're FatFI, congratulations. Enjoy it.
We have some friends who are on a FatFIRE journey and I know they will get there. And I know when they do, they're not going to stop creating stuff.
Oh, totally true.
It's really interesting to watch some of these minds at work figure out the puzzle pieces for themselves. And there's this idea that once you sort of get to this threshold, then you're just going to sit on a beach and drink Mai Tais all day. No, like you're going to get bored. You're going to want to continue to create in some capacity, right? But I think it's just about slowing down and really enjoying the journey a little bit more.
What I love so much about the people on the FIRE journey that have made it is they're still producing content, or they're still volunteering, or they're so approachable.
Yeah.
Because they know how long it takes. They understand the game. And they just want to share it, because everyone's game is personal. And so I really respect the people at this conference at FinCon, or that post blog articles about how to get to FatFI, or even just FIRE in general, because that is the golden ticket, when you can do whatever you want to do. And then they still turn around and they
extend a hand.
They extend the hand. They show people how they did it, which it's murky out there, man. Like, you've got to find the right way to get there yourself. And the fact that they have done it and turn around and are mentoring strangers, it's so refreshing and exciting. And I just respect the heck out of it.
Cool.
Really do.
I think one of my favorite things about the FIRE community that I've found a very common thread in almost everyone that I've met is this level of just gratitude that they have for even the simplest of things. And I think that has changed me in a lot of ways too, for the better. You know, going from a consumption mindset in our society really encourages us to consume and get the bigger house and get the nicer car and get the new iPhone, you know, but there's sort of this common thread among people who are working towards financial independence, whether they're trying to retire early or not. They are living frugally on purpose. They are spending very purposefully. They are sacrificing in a lot of ways, and they are being very purposeful about being grateful and expressing gratitude for what they do have, because it helps curb that need to buy more or do more or spend more. And something about that relationship between frugality and gratitude, I find really attractive when building new connections.
Well, that's a really great point. A lot of people in the FIRE community are minimalists.
Yeah.
And they spend their time, like I've met so many great people, to your point. Like, I go surfing with several people in the FIRE movement during the middle of the week, and all we talk about is volunteering and what type of trips you're going to be planning and who you're spending your time with, because it's all about the communication with the people and the relationships now.
It's not about stuff.
It's not about stuff. Yeah, like, we can go out to dinner, or I go to Taco Tuesday to get like $10 tacos with a friend. And, here's a guy that's worth multi-million-dollars, and he's just having buy one, get one free tacos with me on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
These are people that have learned to appreciate life and in a whole refreshing way. And I love this community. So yes, totally aligned with you there. This is the way I want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to crowdsource questions from people who are listening when it comes to, hey, tell me more about CoastFI. Tell me more about BaristaFI. That really helps us identify what to cover in future episodes. So I think we mentioned last episode that our website is up and running. We're very excited about that.
Yeah.
Please feel free to reach out to us. We're also on Instagram. I would love to connect with people who are listening, maybe field some questions. I'd love to maybe read some questions on future episodes as well.
Absolutely.
Just to really get an idea of what listeners are interested in learning more about, because, as sort of a new creator in this FI space, I've been on the FI journey now for a while, and it's taken me a little bit of flexing a new muscle to remember what it was like when I was just learning, which I didn't expect that. So I definitely want a little bit of help from people who are just now getting on board to figure out what they are interested in learning more about.
Yeah, we've had a really great response on this show.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people reach out with personal questions and suggestions for topics that we cover. We love that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
it's been really, really helpful.
Yeah, we've had a lot of positive comments on our YouTube channel too. So like this has been such an awesome journey. We're so grateful to have this community on board. And
it's been really fun.
It's been fun. Yeah, we'll keep this going. This is awesome.
All right.
Yeah. One thing that we didn't mention that I would like to talk about is how the FIRE staircase relates to the waterfall concept that we covered on last episode. So last episode, we talked about essentially what you invest in as you have more money to contribute to these tax-advantaged accounts. And so an analogy that I really like is that as you are filling these buckets in your waterfall, like your, emergency fund, check, that bucket's done. It spills on over into your next bucket, which eventually be doing your Roth IRA, your 401k, your taxable brokerage account. You got all these buckets of water now, or buckets of cash that you're putting into the swimming pool every year. And that swimming pool eventually starts to climb with cash. And so now you've got the first step of the pool, which is your CoastFI, which is the one that we focus on. But as that cash keeps climbing because of compound interest or contributions that you're doing, you now meet the next step, which is your BaristaFI. And the cash keeps going. And then you got your LeanFI and then your FIRE. And that's almost like you're out of the pool at that point. Yeah. And then your Chubby FI and FatFIRE.
They get a deep end.
They get maybe a deep end or
a jacuzzi.
They get a jacuzzi. Right. They get a jacuzzi. And then if you're FatFI, you buy the freaking pool. So that's how I like to picture it. Yeah.
I would love for you to draw this out for me.
Oh, that's a great idea. I'll put it on a shirt. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll put it on the whiteboard. We'll take a picture of it.
We can put that on the show notes.
Okay.
Good call. That's all we got. Thanks for joining us.